Hi guys, welcome to another episode of The Aspiring Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Hamza Chowdhury. Welcome to today's daily stock recap video. It is May 4th, 2021. It is Tuesday. It was a bloody red market today. And of course, as always, guys, if you follow this channel, you were prepared. You knew we've talked about this. We talked about pullbacks. We've talked about key levels. And so I'm sure you guys saw that a lot of the plays that we've talked about on a daily channel really is we're playing out really well, and so we'll definitely be going over it. I'll be breaking it down piece by piece, especially with the overall market, what we're seeing. Dogecoin went strong today, made some new highs at 59 cents, and so a lot of you guys, congrats if you're long in these sort of stocks that nobody really knows what the game plan is until it falls apart. And so with that said, guys, let's just talk overall about the market. And so we mentioned, several times back up here, and of course in yesterday's recap video, which I will be referring to again a lot on this video, we mentioned yesterday, right? We called the 411 as a consolidation bottom as an interesting level, okay? Because that's where we held. And sure enough, that was yesterday, and we tanked right to what? 411. And so again, staying patient, sitting on your hands, waiting for these trades, waiting for the market to come to you. That's how you win. And then what you can see is, look at this extremely long wick, okay? And so we opened here at 416. We came as low as 411. But look what happens, right? The buyer stepped in. And what was really interesting personally on my day trading chart, which is what this is look what happens on the last 15 minutes. We had this massive volume come in as people were closing their positions. And so the buyers were in there, guys. The buyers are in these trades. They're simply, right, you sell off and you essentially buy it back. And they're sitting there waiting. And so you can see that this volume bar was extremely big, and it counted for most of the volume of the day. And it brought us right back up to where we opened. And so we had a strong bounce off that 411, which we called out yesterday. So congratulations again if you did catch yesterday's video. Long wick tells me that we definitely are still, of course, uptrending. But we mentioned the 20-day was definitely not something I really personally counted on, just considering that we never really had any bounce on previous history off the 20-day. But it's just good to know kind of overall how the market's doing, right? If we're trending obviously below the 20-day, then that says we're probably, slowing down on the bulls. And of course, if we're trading below the 50-day, we're definitely in a bearish market like we were back here, where we had some essentially some consolidation and some sell-offs on some big volumes. Okay, and so again, guys, the market's still overextended, and so expect sort of what you saw today. It definitely can happen again, and you can see that we sort of have this top now up in the 400, 415s that we've sort of created, where unlike these sort of runs, you can tell we were uptrending, we now are consolidating in a tighter range. And so like I mentioned before, I'd like to see a test of the 50-day to really flush out a lot of people out of their trades, and that right now is sitting right around 400, okay, for the S&P. So now for Apple, guys, again, if you're new to this channel, we talk about this stock every single day. So if you're an Apple person, this is definitely a channel you want to subscribe to. And, we mentioned, right, is when all this price action happened, and I called a clear top at 135. I said, what was the zone? Again, yesterday's video was what? 127.50, guys, 127. Those are the levels. If I was starting a new position in Apple, that's where I would start to look to buy. Not up here when it was reporting earnings and when it was, clearly finding its top. We said, where did it break through, and where was the level that we constantly saw previous resistance at, and what level did it break? And it was right here this day at 127.50. And so, guys, as it was sort of coming, as it sort of be, we mentioned that now the 50-day will start to flatten out and it'll start to come back up. And so it flattened out, and we mentioned that just happens to also be at the 127.50 range, okay? And so now you can see it's a little bit lower. It's at like 126.50. And guys, we got a perfect bounce off of that. Today's low is 126.70, and the 50-day you can see is sitting right below that. And so it was a perfect area of support. And then you can see the buyer stepped in and pushed this thing up. And then of course it looks like we had a fill here on the daily, okay? And so guys, if I was starting a position, and when we say starting it, that's different for everybody. Trade your own plan, trade your own risk, trade your own account. And so when we say starter, that could be 10% for some people, that could be 20%, but that's definitely not 100%, okay? So if you're starting a new position, a new long, the idea is that you sold shares here and you're buying some shares here, okay? You're not going full size, because there's always a potential, right, that you can come back and potentially retest some of these lows here in the teens, which we call the 117.50 is the high, the strongest support out of all is the 117, 80. And so what we want to do is start dabbing into Apple and potentially have room to add. And now if you went full size, you won't have that ability. You're just going to see your account potentially, right, go down and shrink and go into the red. And so we don't want that, okay? And so again, great buy here if you were patient and you didn't get involved with the stock here thinking it was going to the moon. And so again, guys, it was great. It showed a lot of strength yesterday. Apple, I mentioned yesterday, was one of the stronger stocks. It had this massive run up and then it just squeezed people out, and it held the level, it consolidated, and it just faded, okay, like most of the market. Okay, so you can see this heavy thick green lines to 127.50, and I still think it's going to be support. I know we traded right around that level. It's been a key level for us in the past, which is why it's shown in this thicker green line. And so congratulations, guys, for those of you who are patient. Okay, and so the next stock we'll go over is Tesla. And what's really interesting about Tesla, and this happens, guys, we can't be perfect. As I mentioned on previous videos, you go back to last week's videos, you go back to every video I mentioned, I said the downside risk to Tesla is 650 to 655. And today's low was 657, okay? And so we got within $2 to $3. But what happened was this day here, I essentially got tricked out, where I had thought that we had basically made our bottom, okay? So we talked about the higher low, right? So we said that in order for Tesla to sort of uptrend, we sort of have this sort of higher low and higher high pattern. And so we said that this was going to be a higher low. And so what happened was we had a strong day. We looked at the 20 days resistance, which was around 710. And then the last few days we've sold off, and we ended up actually getting closer to that 655. So I readjusted the trend line to what I originally had, which is based off of these recent lows, the higher lows on Tesla. And so let's hope, right, that the thesis, if it stays, is that the higher low for Tesla was 657. Okay, now again, the moment that sort of idea goes out the door is when we break something like around here, which is around $600, meaning that we're making now lower highs and lower lows. And so what I expected to see here when we had this high at 786 or 780, this 786 was the pre-market, is that we would get closer to one of our near-term price targets based on this, right, where we can start drawing trend lines and seeing something closer to like 8.5, 8.10, 8.15, okay, up in the 8s now. And so that's what we want to see on an upper trend line. And so, let's see what it gives it to us. But you can see, guys, that Tesla's gotten a beat down. We're down for the year. And we obviously had a massive run up last year, but the stock has definitely taken a lot of breathing space. It had a massive sell off up to 40% here, and now it's sort of reclaiming that. But you guys can see when the sell off happens, you can see how long it sort of takes to go back up that mountain, right? You can see it's a very steady climb compared to when the sell off happens. Okay, so we want to be part of cashing out our profits, waiting for that massive sell off and that panic sell and those margin calls to hit, so we can go pick up shares at massive discounts and ride that wave again. Okay. So hopefully that's helpful for you guys and who's in Tesla. As always, guys, I'm still bullish on the stock long term. Palantir, same idea, guys. We do have earnings coming up. That's the only catalyst at this point that I'm counting on. You guys can tell the contracts, the fact that they just brought in a new exec from IBM, none of that really seems to drive the stock. And so, we still see a lot of 50-day resistance that we've seen continuously. And so same idea, guys, is I expect that the catalyst will come to earnings. If we can get profitability, same thesis, guys. I'm still looking for that daily fill here. Short-term price target at 31.50 for Palantir. That hasn't gone out the door. We've just been on low volume, extremely low volume. You can see the average volume is 36 million. Today we were a little bit higher because of the sell-off. But guys, the buyers keep stepping in. And so if we look at the day trading chart for Palantir, right, you can see that on this level here, which is at $21, you can constantly see there's support, right? So we bounced off here as far back as the 25th of March, the 30th of March, and then most recently the 19th of April, and then we had some bounce off today. And so we're trading on the lower band, which in theory is a bearish sign, but you can see that the upper band is above the 50-day. And so I'm still believing in the breakout. And I mentioned to you guys this sort of indicator that I'm testing out talks about just market consolidation, and that the stock is trading within the Keltner channel. It means it's extremely tight, and it's been really trading in the channel for quite some time now. And so we're ready for what I consider a breakout, considering we've already sort of broken down, and we're really trading at the most recent lows for the last 6 months. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. Now this week we did mention we are talking about Bitcoin. Like I said, guys, I published something on my Instagram. If you don't follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and see sort of some of the things I post daily. And so same idea, guys, is, I mentioned that I'm bearish on Bitcoin concerning the massive run up. And so you can see now that the 50-day is not sort of upward sloping, it's also starting to flatten out. And so what I expect is it's going to start downtrending as we sort of break these levels. And you can see the bottom band of the Bollinger Band is closer to 48, but we clearly have topped over here up in the mid 60s. And so if you look here, as I mentioned yesterday as well, that I'm very bearish on the stock right now. on Bitcoin in general. It's ran, you know, quite a ways, and I expect it short term to get to 30 to 40,000 in the near term, and that's where I would start looking. And of course you can see that, you know, it's had this massive run up. If you look at it really on the monthly, it's just crazy how much the stock has run. It's gone up just significantly. And so let me show you the month, right? I mean, this is just insane. And so it's way overbought. Okay, and so obviously on the RSI, on the monthly, it's strong. You can see the momentum starting to flatten out. You can see we really had this sort of indecisiveness in the market, and now we're starting to see the sell-off. And so it's volatile, guys. If you're into that, that's great. Not my personal, you know, type of trade, but, you know, I definitely expect that we'll get back under 40 pretty soon here. Okay, and again, it's a thesis, and as I mentioned, I could be wrong, and there's nothing wrong with being wrong, but I'm on the record for what I believe in and what I think, based on what I can see and what I can forecast. Okay, and of course the market doesn't care about that. I wanted to talk about two other stocks. Spce, there was a article that came out that said that there was a flight that taken off. Obviously they got their earnings pushed back by a week, which caused the semi tank yesterday. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, considering they were able to still turn their financials in within a week of when they were supposed to. And so there was apparently a flight that took off, and once that news came off, guys, as always, as any stock that we talk about, we need a catalyst. And so you can tell right off the back, where was that catalyst? It wasn't during the sell-off. It was right here when we had this engulfing candle on the 15-minute, and then we essentially went as high as 2150. Okay, and this is a stock, keep in mind that the 200-day and the anchored VWAP are closer to 27, which we mentioned was our closer price target. And so I can definitely see that, you know, with that bounce and that sort of higher high, what we wanted to see was a higher low, and we continue to downtrend. And so we made a new lower low today at 1916, when previously it was right at $20. Okay, and so that whole thesis of that it's a reversal hasn't happened. We've talked about that back here. There's no reversal. We actually had a breakdown. This candle broke down that thesis of a higher high, higher low, and there's no reversal yet. And so really what you want to see, if you're going to sort of be bullish on Spce, is look at this break at $24, which was acting as strong resistance last week. If you recall too, right over here, right, it acted as strong resistance. Okay, and so if you see a breakout at the 24 area and it closed above 24, I would definitely see a reversal on Spce. Why am I talking about Ocgn? Because it's a great momentum play. For those of you guys who didn't get wicked out, I did do that video on a week ago about what happened to Ocgn in the offering. But again, guys, we saw the breakout, and when you see the breakout, you look back at, okay, this thing is squeezed, and now that it's squeezed out, you know, day two. Okay, and so really when you see that breakout trade, not necessarily the consolidation, when it's holding levels, you know it's going to break out. And so when it's holding these levels here at 11 to 12, and then you see an uptrend, obviously you saw the breakout yesterday, now you're waiting for what? The pullback. Okay, and so today the shorts were up on this trade, and so if you were along, hopefully you took out most of your profit when you saw it breaking out yesterday. You knew it was on the upper band, you knew it was obviously on the overbought. And of course, guys, keep in mind 2 weeks ago this was a $5 stock, so please don't tell me, hey, it had the variant, hey, it found this. It doesn't matter, guys. We got to look at the financials. We know they're losing a ton of money. That's why they did the offering. And so until they get more developed, until they become a highly profitable company and they have a track record, guys, it's hard for me to personally get excited. But if you're excited, there's nothing wrong with that. As always, guys, I want you to make the most you possibly can in the market. But clearly this was a great short for for yesterday. And so it topped off around 16, which just happened to be what the previous top here, which actually closed around 16. Okay, and so it looks like the previous top here was actually a little bit higher, closer to 19, but you can see here it closed right at 16. Okay, and so great day two move, guys. So as always, guys, I appreciate you. I hope this video was helpful. If so, please do hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye bye.